evening to everyone. I am Dr. Chaitra Bharat, and I extend a very warm welcome to all our panelists and participants on behalf of Phoenix Academy, Mysore. It is expected that the COVID-19 will have a 25 to 30% impact on business in the retail industry, with a multiplier effect on subsidiary industries and lasting job losses. A survival plan is what we need. So to discuss the effect of COVID-19 on their businesses, we have three eminent people from the industry on our panel today. Before we have our first speaker, let me lay out some ground rules for the webinar. So I kindly request all the participants to keep your audio and video off at all times. You can use the chat box for queries. You can post your questions also on the chat box. All questions will be taken at the end of the presentation of all the speakers. The link to get your certificates will be given at the end of the webinar. So please adhere to these instructions. So we have our first speaker now, that is Mr. Sanjay Das, who is the Chief Operations Officer at Daily Grocery Private Limited. He will be giving us an overview of retail during COVID-19 situation. So welcome Sanjay Das, sir. So you can take it over from here.
A very good afternoon to you all. I'd like to say the overview of the retail, how it has happened during the COVID situation, when the lockdown has happened. So if you'll see during that period, if you'll say first, because agriculture is the prime factor which can depends on the industry. Most of the food processing industry depends on the agricultural produce as a raw material for the production. So the supply chain has got disrupted because during the Rabi season, the harvesting was done, it was disrupted due to the labor issues, and the production has happened disrupted due to the migrant laborers has moved away from their native place. So because of that, so the supply chain has got disrupted. And during the lockdown situation, if you'll see, the most of the stores which are situated in the malls, it was not operational, and many of the stores in the standalone stores which were operational is basically food and retail. Those things, food and grocery retail, they were operational, but it was not opening for the full day. And due to the COVID, there was a scarcity in the manpower. So people are not coming to the stores, and there is a scarcity of the manpower on the floor to provide better services to the customers, and the fear of COVID coronavirus, and people are not coming to the offline stores. As a result, the online retail market has gone up by 30% during the COVID situation. So if you'll see, there are actually during that situation, people thought this situation will continue for a longer time. The panic buying has happened, particularly in groceries like dal, chawal, or edible oils, then processed food like this snacking item and those things. People started stocking for 2 to 3 months. So the business during those period, actually initial 1 month was very good in retail industries as compared to the other times. Whenever time it was opening, because of this panic situation, people are buying more. Suppose one person was buying 1 bag of rice for their home consumption, he was buying 3 bags of rice for their home consumption. So if you see, the panic buying has given a good result during those periods. Afterwards, it was slowly slow down. Then some grocery started, the local and all these things had started opening. So it become a normal situation. And during COVID situation, another thing is that the supply, there was the two sides of the retail. If you will see on the supply side and another is the demand side. If you will see the supply side, many of the food processing companies, suppose Kellogg's, I will give the example. Kellogg's is situated in the factory situated in Malaga, Mumbai, and it was in a containment zone. And the raw material, there is scarcity in the raw material supply. And if you'll see the logistic and transportation, there is the issue, and due to manpower and maintaining social distancing. So because of these things, the production was not continued properly. The production has almost happened, drastically reduced. So whatever the demand was there, the production was not meeting up the demand. That was the another situation. And government has also so many restrictions. You cannot open, you cannot do all these things. Because of that also, it has a little bit impact on the retail. So if you see the imported product market segment, if you see most of the imported segments like whatever is there. If chocolate is majorly imported chocolate and all these things, it has not, because during COVID situation, because if you'll see the chocolate category, people, the major children are the actually, they influence their parents to buy the chocolate. So when the people are not moving to the retail shops, that is another category, and all other imported category which has not come imported. That is why also that this market was, there was a scarcity in the supply side. So what other things you can see, because there is a lot of things has happened in because of this panic and whatever, these people have not moved away from the houses, so they stayed in the house. So the food consumption has drastically increased actually, particularly snacking and bakery and all these things people have access. So I'll just go to very little bit category, because my friend Saibal will continue as the category FMCG, dairy and all these things. You will see, if you will see the supply side, whatever I have already explained, there is a drastically drop in the production due to raw material scarcity. In the supply of the raw material has disrupted, and there was a low manpower, and all the migrant laborers who were there in the factory, they have moved to their home places. Because of that, and maintaining social distancing and all these factors affected drastically the supply side. And if you see the demand side, particular like biscuit segment, breakfast cereals like cornflake and all these things, then confectionery sale is reduced. Chocolate sale has not gone up, those things. Baking needs, particularly this making of baking soda and baking powder, all these things. And if you see, instead of fresh milk, the milk powder sales has gone up, like that. It has noodles, pasta, and if you see the grocery items like, and if you see the other things, the people, you will see the health and beauty segment, yeah, particularly personal care, it is actually drastically reduced, and it has not gone up. Health and beauty, the Dio, though it is a summer season, but Dio season, Dio perfume season, matlab sales has not gone up. And if you see household things like detergent, those things has gone up. Detergent, then toilet cleaner and the floor cleaner, the dishwash, all these things has gone up. And particularly one segment has gone in the personal care, that is bath soaps and the sanitizer, then hand wash. This has gone, but there was a short supply of hand sanitizer and hand wash. And if I'll go to the staples category, if you'll see, majorly the article which has gone sells more, which rice, the particularly the location based, where the atta consumption is more, the people have bought more atta. In the panic situation, they are thinking that the supply will disrupted, will not get supply for 2 to 3 months. Thinking of that, they purchased a huge quantities for 2 to 3 months stacking. Then particularly cereals like rice, then atta, then edible oil, then pulses. And during this situation, due to low processing of the pulses price has drastically increased in some commodities, and some commodities it is constant because of the supply situation, demand and supply gap. Salt and sugar also same, everything has gone up. And if you see the dairy things, particularly there was a overproduction of the dairy, not overproduction, production is high, particularly sweet shops, it has been closed. So supply was more, the demand has drastically reduced. So because of that, people have either sold in a very reducing price, or they have thrown away on the roads. Particularly, I have seen it in Odisha and other places. People are just throwing the milks in on the road because there is no buyer for that. And fresh milk production was there, but other things like a butter, cheese, and all, if this production has this, actually demand has gone up because people are staying in the houses, and they used to use for making pizza, burger, and whatever is there for their consumption, they used to there. And particularly in staples, another thing was gone up like maida, suji, besan, all this, because people are staying at home, they used to make pakodas and all these things, so that also sales has gone up. Dry fruit sales is not gone much, but it is almost constant. Then fresh milk is like that, packet milk and all these things, because people are not moving to the market. They are thinking that on the packet where the coronavirus will be there and something like that. So that is why little bit panic thing has happened. So, and particularly bakery, I told you, people were used to bakery. Though bakery was making some bread and other things, but the movement was not at the normal days. How much was selling? It was not selling like that in this COVID situation. It was little bit low as compared to the normal situation, normal days. But in this segment, people have used this baking powder and all this, making their own baking items at home when they were at house. And if you see the fresh market like fruits, vegetable, fish and meat, suppose Vimavaram is the largest producer of this roe, katla and all these fishes. But because of this COVID situation and their wet market, people were not moving to the wet market and all these things. And there was a logistic issues. So the consumption of those things has decreased, and in place of that, frozen category has taken a major role, like this frozen fish, then frozen prawns, and like frozen sausages, then frozen nuggets, whatever is, whether it is a veg and non-veg, it has taken a drastically a good place during this COVID situation. And though people are not moving to the stores, the online sale has picked up. Like if you will see the things like this big basket and all this Amazon, whatever is Flipkart, then Grofers, they have increased. In India, the growth is 30%, which is amazing. And if they could have actually the more of the manpower, they could have supplied more, because they didn't have at that point of time. They could not actually, these companies could not actually recruited more manpower for their supply for delivery boys. And people, those who have also bought this frozen, not frozen, this fresh item, fruits, vegetable, and the sort of online, they were not getting actually quality things. And when the supply side, if you see this fruits, vegetable, and all these things, the production is there is no buyer, so people are selling in a distress sale, or they are throwing. In my village, one of my friend, he has cultivated around 50 acre of land. Then he in the Porwal, he has sold at 4 rupees, where the market price was 50 and 60 rupees. And this watermelon he was selling at 4 rupees, where the market price was 20-25 rupees it was selling. So like that, so many things has happened. But other industries, retail is not affected much. Yeah, many people may lose their job, and there is a lot of merger and acquisition which they are going to happen in near future, and a lot of salary cut has happened. Even if that, retail industry like agri, retail, and food sector is in a better shape as compared to other industries during this COVID situation. So this is from my side. Now I'll tell my friend Saibal, he can take over to it in the category wise, particularly FMCG, dairy, and other things, because he heads the food hall retail as the national head. He will take care of that.
Yeah.
So I am handing over to Saibal.
Thank you so much, sir, for the overview and such a detailed explanation of the overview. So our next speaker is Mr. Saibal Banerjee. He is the National Head of FMCG, Staples and Dairy, Food Hall Retail of the Future Group. So welcome, sir, and it's over to you now.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Chaitra. Thanks, Sanjay, for the introduction. And good afternoon to all the viewers, I think, who have joined us. Sanjay has given a very nice overview of how the retail business, mainly the food part of the retail business, how it has spanned over the last 3 months during the COVID period. So I will take it a little bit on a macro scenario of how the buying patterns have changed of customers, and what are the different roles that a marketeer, a retailer, an online retailer has to play, and what kind of course corrections they need to do, or few people have done already. So coming to a pre-COVID to a COVID, so if a retailer is considering, so what has very drastically changed on a macro level? It's about the consumption, when a product is consumed. So there were QSR, there were fine dining, there were eateries, which used to be very much a part of our lives. I think we used to eating out was trending. I think and trying out different cuisines and different kind of food. But now everything has become in-home consumption. During COVID, when people are locked down in their houses, so it's all about in-home consumption and also in-home cooking. So if I take my example, I have turned out to be a master chef in last 3 months. So I never cooked anything prior to that. So these are a lot of these cooking habits are also, I think, there. where people have started cooking back home. So these are the two major changes that have happened. So if I take FMCG as a category, so what has happened in FMCG is, so the category share, the category contributions, which used to be there pre-COVID, have gone for a drastic change. Few categories which were never important, never that kind of volumes used to be generated. So those categories have taken over. So if I take examples of categories like pasta sauces, noodles. So these categories have completely started showing sales 3x, 4x times because the in-home cooking of pasta, pizza have started. When I'm talking about another category which exploded is baking. So in-home baking, the cake mixes, the baking flours, the sweeteners, the syrups. So these are the category I think where there's a lot of explosion. We have seen like only the consumption occasion getting changed and the buying pattern getting changed. So these categories are really on upswing. And as Sanjay mentioned, so chocolate as a category which used to be among the top. If we talk about FMCG food, so the top category used to be noodles, chocolates, biscuits, breakfast cereal, and snacking. So chocolate has taken a beating with people are buying indulgent products, but not that much. As Sanjay rightly mentioned, that the chocolate buying was impulse, definitely is impulse today also, but the influencer was a kid who was visiting the store with the parents, which is completely stopped now, or virtually is completely not existent. So there is no influencer and it is not considered as an essential product. If we go deep down to chocolate, so I represent a company called Food Hall. That's the premium end of the value chain in food retail. So where a lot of this gourmet and a lot of indulgent chocolate we sell, like brands like Lindt, Belgian, Butlers. So these are the brands which are essentially imported brands. But what we have seen in last 3 months in the COVID period is people are for indulgent, expensive chocolate brand, people are sticking to Lindt. So they are not trying out for the other options. So where they need a value for money and also the satisfaction they want to derive from that product. What has happened? So another category which is also impulse, the consumption has increased. That is snacking. So in-home snacking like chips, like for the others, all the Haldirams of the world, like the Rajam snacks, like all the extruded namkeens. So these categories have again I think gone up in their share. In-home consumption of beverages also have really increased. So beverage is in season, and so we didn't expect this kind of sales happening, but in-home beverage consumption has also increased. Another category that Sanjay also mentioned is frozen. So frozen ice creams, frozen veg, frozen non-veg. So these categories have also. So what from a marketeer, from a retailer point of view, so we need to influence the marketing mix piece. So there was certain space given to certain categories in the pre-COVID period. But what has happened is, so that kind of space is not required. So that needs to be completely changed now in a post-COVID scenario. So there is some tracking mechanism which used to happen called availability, and there's a concept of A, B, C class articles, where this is the sales rate, the top 50% sales contributing SKUs are called A class. So those may be are 20% in count, but other thing that contribute to 50%. So that list has changed completely. So maybe 80% of the list has changed. So it's about each retailer has to go back to the drawing board and lay the strategy on the SKUs which they want to sell now, the kind of space they need to give that SKUs, and the kind of promotion they want to do for these products. Definitely availability will be the key in today's time, but how a product has to be promoted also, and so that also is important. When I'm mentioning pasta sauces, another category which from nowhere, it was maybe the 5th or 6th kind of category, but that come up is of sauces. So when these people are experimenting with different food back home, so cuisine sauces and the different sauces and condiments as a category has really exploded. It has also grown by 270 to 80% over the baseline sales data. So this is when I'm talking about the FMCG scenario. FMCG non-food is a completely different story. Personal care has gone. I think there's a huge dent in the category. So personal care and mostly indulgent personal care, like the high-end skincare, like the high-end hair care. So these categories have taken a deep pounding. Sanitizers and what we talk about hand washes. So there is a demand is 100x. So there is no kind of a brand kind of dominance or a brand loyalty that has come in this category. It's about the meeting the demand supply gap. So you might see many brands which you have never heard the name have come in the sanitizer space, in the hand wash space, but that is because of the demand there in the market. It's not about that the customers have become brand agnostic and they will not look at brands anymore. But this is a kind of situational when there is a huge demand of sanitizers and all suppliers put together are not able to meet up the demand. So moving to FMCG, what about brand loyalty now? So a person who was eating Maggi, is he still loyal to Maggi? Or there has been a shift due to different brands coming in? If I talk about FMCG, there hasn't been a shift in brand loyalty per se. Definitely, if there is a supply gap in the market, so people have gone back, people have tried different products if the product they're looking for is not there. So if I'm talking about a classic example of a category called tea, we all know. So in our company, we used to sell high-end teas. So a lot of these brands, a lot of the high-end, the different varieties of teas we used to sell. But now what the observation is that customers have really gone back to the basics. So now the tea buying is restricted to a society tea in Bombay, to a Wagh Bakri in Gujarat, to a Tata tea in North, or maybe a Unilever, Taj Mahal, and maybe a Green Label in Calcutta. So the people are very conscious and they are only buying the meat. So it's not about the fancy teas of the world, are just not selling in this period. Also, one category I think is all about convenience, so a lot of people are not in the mood to cook also. So for them, it's all about convenience back home. So for them, the ready to eat category. So ready to eat the brands like Ashirvad, the Kitchens of India, MTR, Fazlani, maybe Gits. So these companies have come up and all their ready to eats are really flying off the shelves. That is also giving, I think, a lot of households are using that regularly. And so this is what we see in FMCG category. Once we move to, if we take example of staples. So staples mostly, I think Sanjay is a staples expert. He can correct me when I say something wrong. But the way I see the business in staples is pulses as a category has gone through a price revision at a macro level because there are a lot of imports used to happen from Australia, from Africa. So those imports have stopped, and so whatever is there is a price correction that has already happened in the market. Staples, we also see, I've been hearing a lot of people, a lot of stalwarts talking on media about, so there is no brand loyalty, any brand can sell in staples. But that also is similar to the example I gave for sanitizer. Staples is also, there's a demand supply gap. So people in this panic buying of essentials, and people are upstocking their staples, rice, atta, other flours, oils, people are upstocking. Till date, there is a lot of this upstocking happening. So now this is not that any brand can sell. It's about the demand that is there in the market. The marketeers and the brands are not able to fill the demand through their supply chain. And what is essentially happening is, if one brand is not there, people are trying out for other brands. But if they get the regular brand, which they're always looked at, so they are sticking to that brand itself. So there is a gap. Still, there is a gap in the demand supply. Once you talk about rice, so rice, India is a producer of basmati rice. So basmati rice prices are supposed to fall because exports are not happening that way. So that is there. Atta, I think, will there not be any fluctuation. Spices and also sugar and salt will also stay a bit stable. But once you look at the retailers' share in essential space, definitely staples as a category, we call it center of plate. So staples as a category has really gone up by 3-4% in their sales contribution, and people have really stocked up, and these categories have really exploded during lockdown, where people are buying more essentials. Once we talk about dairy, moving on to dairy as a category. So dairy, what has happened is in the premium end of the value chain, so this lot of this imported cheese used to happen in India, so where retailers like Food Hall, Nature's Basket used to get imports from different European countries. So that is not restricted. So people are looking at artisanal the Indian cheese brands across India. There's in Coimbatore, there is in Kodaikanal, there's in Goa. So lot of these in-home artisanal cheese brands are coming in, who will definitely take a lot of space in the market now. The other dairy, I think, which with the consumption, with the kind of production that is happening, which Sanjay mentioned, I think there is the other side. Supply is too much than what is the demand in the market, because all the hotels and restaurants and all this the HoReCa channel is completely missing. So they are not buying. So sweet shops are closed. So there is no buying happening, and there is no. So I think the supply chain of the domestic dairy brands, I think whoever you're talking about ghee, talking about butter, talking about all the other milk products, and there we don't see any issue coming in the next 3, 4, 5 months. Having said that, on the import side now, a little bit of the import restrictions are getting relaxed and things are coming in India. So we are expecting things getting back to normal in next 2, 3 months. So all the different importers who sell the imported FMCG brands are still having stocks to cover 2, 3 months. And by these 2, 3 months, we're expecting the situation to be slightly better. Now looking at the different channels, the different trade channels, so the different channels of retail. So the offline definitely has taken a beating with the malls closed, with all the malls closed, and the stores which were in the malls so are all closed. A lot of these big retail chains which have had their stores in malls have really suffered. So what has happened in this space is, as Sanjay mentioned, so online penetration has increased, is at its all-time high. So online, we see now Swiggy also moving into this space of food delivery. So they have acquired one company called Spoodzi very recently, and they have come into this food space, and all the different companies. So overall market penetration has got to the share to the business. If you talk about a few of the retailers, it has gone to in excess of 25 to 30% from a high single digit. So this is a huge now domain where a lot of retailers, a lot of marketeers will be there. So all the marketing budgets, when we talk about from a marketing perspective, a lot of marketing budgets will be spent on social media, on digital marketing, on the online space, on promoting different banners on the online business pages, and all these companies like Grofers, like Big Basket, like Amazon, like Swiggy. So they will come hard at the offline retailers now. But this is the way to go. I think all the companies need to now do a lot of course correction, need to beef up the model, the online model, the way the deliveries are done, the way they track the order, the way they give 100% fill rate of the orders that they're servicing. So this is a space where definitely it has come very, very fast, but all the retailers have to be geared up for the omni-channel retail also, with all the players with this. So this JioMart also has started. So every player has to play a very, very strong role to sustain and to survive in this kind of scenario. Talking about other retail, so this is food retail, FMCG, staples, dairy we are talking about. So a little bit hinting on the other. So fashion retail is fashion and general merchandise and electronics are heavily impacted, with almost all stores shut. So a lot of these fashion brands are also looking at options of opening up a small section of food and grocery, because that should be the hook of pulling the customers in the store. So we haven't seen anything successfully executed till date, but there's a lot of companies are trying to do this. And let's see, I think in next couple of months, we'll be able to see how successful they are in getting the traffic back in the store. But going forward, if you say the market, both offline and online will be there. Online definitely for the basic stuff where people are looking at, but for the offline business to sustain in long run in a non-COVID or in a COVID period going forward will be something experiential. A person needs to go to a store to experience something. Otherwise, it's better off to buy a Maggi and a Coke over a phone and a home delivery. So that's a better option. So for any retailer who wants to bring the customer back to shop in offline retail, it either has to be a convenience store where a person can just go out of his house in 5 minutes, can get a product and come back for extreme emergency, or it can be something like an experiential store like a food hall, where a person comes in, has an experience, can get all the different learnings, innovations from the different parts of the world, get a lot of knowledge on cuisines of how to play or how to romance with food. So he can come in the stores and take their experience back. So this is where I stand. I think I'm open to take questions. Over to Chaitra.
Thank you so much, sir. That was so deep, and yeah, so much of different perspectives of retail. As consumers, probably we're thinking about it in a very two-dimensional way, supply and demand, but there's so much to it. Yeah, so participants, feel free to put in your questions in the chat box. And before I start getting questions from you, I have a few questions of my own. So Sanjay sir, could you come online too? We'll have the panel online. So how has the buy local kind of thing that has been pushing on social media? There's a lot of traction for that. So people are advocating that you buy local, buy from push carts, don't go to especially air-conditioned supermarkets, because the scare of the virus being in the air conditioning system for a long time is there. So has that impacted the business?
Yeah, definitely, because if you'll see, the footfall has, in the normal days, the footfall has reduced by 50%. Suppose 100 people are coming earlier days, now 50 people are only coming. But to compensate that, many of the people are buying through online. So the online sales has gone up, home delivery has gone up, and everything we are maintaining, because somebody is entering inside our store or any of the stores they are entering. They are using hand sanitization, we are using people are using hand sanitizers and then gloves and all these protected areas. Now we have everywhere, we have foot also. They will also, whenever they shoe, there is every possibility of virus on their shoes. So if they are in the sanitizing solution and enter inside those stores, those things actually certain hygiene standards we will be maintaining.
So what about, I have recently seen when the mangoes were harvested in the month of April and May, there were a lot of individual groups or cooperatives and certain student groups also in my state. They did this direct farm to the consumer kind of sales. So specifically for mango, did you have an impact? Because, yeah.
If you'll see, mango actually this year, the mango production is not much. Particularly if it's the mango production, every year the mango production is in higher side, and this time the mango production is not up to the mark as for the demand and for the export demand. We export anyway, it is money hampered like anything. And mango demand, it's a good thing because people are buying. Because a lot of companies, they are directly selling mangoes to the consumer. It is a good thing because there will not be any middleman, so the rate will be the consumer is getting at a very good compensated price and a very good price direct from the farmer.
Yes. Okay, so my next question is to Saibal sir. So a lot of manufacturing units have shut down, or rather, at least it could be a temporary thing, or some manufacturing units might be just going bankrupt and going out of business. So how has this impacted the supply chain? What particular categories have been impacted by this?
Yeah, so if we talk about an FMCG industry, there are a lot of these new startups that have come up, I think, in the food space, in snacking. So these startups, I think for them, it was a very wrong time for this COVID to happen. And so for them, as they did not get any sales, and the other food products, I think those were in the entire warehouses and they got expired. I think for them, it has been very difficult for the business to go on. And I think they have closed down. I did not see in any major player this was a problem.
Yeah.
I think we thought about some players. If I talk about say baking as a category, I think few players, I mean they only supply to a specific niche segment. So
Yeah.
so we thought that they were closed down for 2 months, but most of them have opened up now. Their production have also started.
Okay.
So few companies will only manufacturing say organic products. So one company you must know is Conscious Foods. So who does the organic staples? So this company completely their production was stopped for 3 months, but now they again started. So I think slowly in last 1 month we have seen a lot of companies which we thought we ruled out. So initially in May and early, so I mean end April and early May, we saw around 10 to 12% of our suppliers completely shut. So these were primarily due to the production issue, also due to the transportation issue. A lot of people had their stocks in their warehouses, but they could not transport it to the different retail joints. So that was one thing. And also their warehouses and their production units were in the containment zones, as Sanjay mentioned. So that was also the reason why the chain was disrupted. But production companies shutting down, I think I have names of 4 to 5, but mostly in the startup space.
Okay.
Not in established.
Small companies also. Yeah,
Yes.
those who have started, like some potato chip manufacturer, he doesn't have any. Actually, they don't. Actually, many of the places in Kathmandu, whatever I have seen, this potato chip supplier, actually they didn't get a permit to supply the stocks to the stores. So whatever they have supplied, either they have consumed by their own, or are unable to, because few startups they are unable to pay salaries to the people because there is no sale. How they will bring money to pay the people? These things also happen. It is just only startups and very small companies. All big companies, they do not have any problem. They have facility and they are kept at least 2 to 3 months buffer raw material stock to production. But only problem has happened there due to this containment and the migrant labor has moved away from their native place. That is actually the production, whatever the capacity, it was not running full. That is the issue.
We have a participant, Mr. Hanumantappa is asking the question that, is there any positive impact on organic food product category because of COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, organic share has gone up by 8 to 10%.
Okay. So
So
that's
if we talk about staples, talk about fruits and vegetables, people have that feel that organics will be much more fresher and will be. So we were all talking about immunity now. So maybe there is a perception that organic is better.
yes.
So we can clearly see that kind of share increase.
Okay. So this organic food and fighting against climate change, coronavirus, everything is like kind of going hand in hand. So from your company side, are you taking any proactive steps to be fighting against climate change to address these issues that consumers have?
Yeah, because yes, I will, please.
Yeah. So on the hygiene part, I think we as a company, we take a company of food hall, so we are giving the feeling to the shopper that it's perfectly safe. I think that the products are also everything is sanitized. The way they come in, the way they use the sanitizer, the way there is a security guard checks the temperature, and then they come in, and the way everything is maintained there with the kind of cleanliness and hygiene. So this gives customers a lot of confidence.
Okay.
That is one something we are taking care on the organic food part, which you mentioned again. So a lot of retailers with us, we were deliberating on making an organic zone. So we have been thinking it for quite some time, but so get everything organic at the same place. I think so that is very much on the cards, which will happen with all the retailers. I think in next 2 to 3 months, where they will have so organic. Till it was only organic staples. Barring a few retail, few organic stores that have come up in say Bangalore also. But what we see is now every big retailer who has a hypermarket or a gourmet retailer, they will have one organic zone, which will have food, which will have beverages, which will have staples, which will have fruits and vegetables. So there will be a complete organic section.
Yes, that's wonderful, sir. Because I think other than the price being a deterrent to buying organic, the other major reasons why people wouldn't, completely shift to organic is the availability of it throughout the year and availability at one place. So if they wanted fresh produce, they have to go to one place. If they want staples, they would have to go to another place. And the brand loyalty is not there in organic. So I think
if you'll see to take organic certificate, minimum 4 years you have to cultivate, because soil, you as being an agriculture graduate, you also know soil there is a residue of inorganic things, a pesticide, all these things. So 4 years and certification for requirement, a certification is required 4 years.
Correct.
So once somebody will start this and keeping it, it will go for 100% organic. How many years it will take to the 100% area it will cover? It will take time. The actually availability is the issue. We do not have major production, and the price is the another factor. And some segment of the people, those who are health conscious, now they are switched over to organic.
Okay.
Yes,
sir.
Yeah. So the point on brand loyalty. So in organic staples, we see a huge brand loyalty. So clearly the market leader is Conscious Food, followed by 24-liter Mantra. So maybe if we sell 100 rupees organic products, 80 rupees is from Conscious Food and 24-liter Mantra. So the rest, all the other like Just Organic, if we talk about True Farm, like our private label Mother Earth. So these products all put together are the rest. So but these two products are really dominating for quite some time, Conscious Food and 24LM. And to me, they will also, because organic is also a lot about trust, trust in a product, because they're spending that additional money, so there has to be trust in their brand. Otherwise, but I will just also agree to your point on in the FMCG food space. I think till date there is no such brand loyalty. Whoever is claiming organic is getting sold.
Yeah. And I think there's a huge gap in the consumer's understanding of the certification.
Correct.
The difference between natural versus organic.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question is about the labor shortage.
Can I go back to the first question which Sanjay answered?
Yes, yeah, sure, sir.
Yeah. So on the customers coming in, definitely there is a footfall drop. But as we see footfall drop, so we are not getting these window shoppers now. So it's a serious shopper who is coming in. So in retail term, we call a term is called average bill value, ABV. So ABVs have doubled now.
Okay.
So there is a positive part. So people who are coming in are coming for serious buying, and that is adding to the value. So overall sales has grown with the lesser number of bills. So that's a positive thing for any retailer.
Okay, that's great. Okay. So my next question is related to the labor shortage. So what were the challenges? How did you tackle it? And now what is the situation?
Yeah, so I will take it first.
Okay.
The way she is it, so there is across the channel there is a labor shortage. I think we talk about our frontline stores. So frontline stores are at around 25 to 30% of their strength. That is one thing definitely that has been due to the different containment zone where they're coming from, and the difficulty they're facing while going back. So it's about, so now initially we used to have zones allocated to each of the, so somebody was for FMCG, somebody was for staples, somebody was for fruits and vegetables. Now we need all-rounders whoever will be there will be doing everything. So they have the jobs allocated, like morning you will do F&B. After F&B, you will go for staples, then you will go for the stacking. So stacking doesn't happen at a single point in the day, early in the morning. So those are happen in a staggered manner. So it starts with fresh, maybe in the second half of the day, when in the lean hours, they do for the FMCG and staples. So this van in the evening, there's the dump of the fresh categories. And this is the way things are done. So it's all about managing with the available resources and maximizing their potential. I think definitely they're all champions, that they're fighting it out in this COVID situation, day in, day out. But it's about being an all-rounder at this moment. It was the key for us.
Okay. Sanjay sir, would you like to add any points to that?
Actually, what happened due to this labor shortage and all this manpower shortage, so we have to take additional stress of ourselves. So additional working and allocations of stress. Suppose 3 people are coming with a requirement of some 8 people, but additionally 2 to 3 hours we will be stressing during those times to manage those things.
Right.
Particularly in the back end, in warehouse and all things. And many of the time the store was opening for only 3 hours, 4 hours. For the rest of the hours, we can just reorganize the manpower to the supply chain and all these things. Like that way, we have managed.
Okay. Right. So a lot of people now are moving back to their roots, to the rural areas of India. So what's the change happening to the retail front in the rural areas? Now that's a big market. Probably we should be thinking about tapping.
The rural areas, particularly like that, if you will see this market, because Reliance has seen this, there is a big opportunity on these areas. If you might be seeing the advertisement, there is Jio Mart and all these things, because they want to convert all the kiranas into marts.
Yeah.
So rural market is actually very untapped market. Mostly the people are buying from because nowadays people are not moving to the city to buy all these things, whatever is available locally. And our Prime Minister under the Atmanirbhar Bharat is saying that be local, be vocal, and all these things. By this, so lot of rural companies and SME manufacturing, those things will happen. But it will take time. It is not overnight. It will happen. It will take 2 to 3 years of time to happen all these things.
Okay. So my last question was about the management of the working capital. When this all happened very suddenly, there were labor shortages, there were dip in the business. So to what extremities did you find managing your working capital as a challenge?
Yeah, so
Definitely working capital.
I really see it has been a challenge for Indian retailers per se, because the point I mentioned was, so all the big Indian retailers, what they had is that they have a huge contribution of fashion in their business. So as we all know that fashion as a category gives us a lot of margin. It is about 50-55% margin, and also general merchandise as a category like the home work play. So this category also is about 45% margin. So if this business is not essential and that is stopped completely, so that has a huge bearing on the overall business, on the overall turnover and the overall working capital, and on the cash flow. Number two, so all the retail outlets which were there in the malls were shut because malls were shut.
Right.
So that again brought the overall business size down to 50%. So every retailer was operating on a 35 to 40% of their strength of their, but I think the kind of cost lines were almost similar. So what happened is that had a huge bearing on the cash flow of each company. Definitely, all the different FMCG all different manufacturers and all the different suppliers have been there. I think they have been really helpful. They've heard us out. They've supported to the best of their abilities. But this is still a tough time which all the retailers are facing. All the offline retailers are facing in managing their working capital. And let's see. I think the stores have to open in full swing for this situation to get addressed. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So there will be the eventuality is a huge manpower cut, cost correction, which Sanjay mentioned on the cuts have already happened. I think one level of cut has happened across. But I think going forward to maintain those cost levels, we need to have the playing field. So we need to have all the stores open with all the categories operating in full swing. Then only those kind of cost structures can be managed and working capital can be managed. We are now managing, but everybody is hoping for a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. We're all speculating, but I think we don't know what the reality should be. But stay positive.
Right. So that was my last question, sir. So if you want to conclude and summarize something that you would want to, then I'll end the webinar. Both of you can take a few minutes to share a few thoughts about what you hope for in the future. Sanjay, sir?
We are actually thinking that because of this COVID situation, in future, what I am predicting, India will be one of the best manufacturing of many of the companies. Because of this Atmanirbhar package and all these things, a lot of things the government is providing. So many of the companies, they will start their production unit in India so that it will have a better impact in the supply chain. So in future, that is the one thing I am looking after, and the government is supporting, and we also, and the vendors are also supporting. Last question you were asking, many vendors we have negotiated. Suppose their credit days was 30 days, yeah, the sales is not happening. In place of 30 days, you can give 60 days or 70 days to pay your actually whatever we have taken the stocks. Those way also vendors are happened, and whatever the actually near expiry stocks and other things were there, they used to liquidate out, liquidate in offers and all this. The vendor also has supported a lot.
Very nice. Yeah. Saibul sir?
Yeah, the way I look at it, I will talk about more of the learnings from the COVID period. So I always look at and I always tell people to look at the positives. I mean, what we have learned during this period. I think there are a lot of categories which have emerged as clear winners in this COVID. What are our learnings from that, and how we can take it forward when COVID situation is not there? So many learnings for us in consumer behavior also. So those are the learnings for us. And on a personal front, we all need to focus on building to become stronger. So something that we always thought we would develop in ourselves during this COVID time. Many people have worked on that. Many people have worked on those kind of courses and made themselves a better professional.
Right.
So that my message for everybody would be to take the best of the opportunity, to think positive in adverse situation, and take some positivity out of this overall and be a better person.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, it was great for all of you, both of you, to share your experiences with us on how COVID-19 has impacted the retail industry. Thanks to all our Zoom attendees, thanks to our Facebook viewers, and last but not the least, I'd like to thank my team at Phoenix Academy for putting up this webinar. So all the viewers, please follow our page Phoenix Academy Mysore for updates of upcoming webinars. You can write to us at ourphoenixacademy@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you, sir. Thank you, viewers. This is Dr. Chaitra Bharat signing off.
Thank you.